So I'm going to move on now to our Lunch and Learn, which is with Bari Gersten from ViewSonic, who's going to share with us a lot of her mode of thinking about what's going to go into the mix of the ideal classroom. And I just want to mention before Bari turns her screen on and shares her own slides, is that, we really believe at Learning Council from all our research that the dynamics of the in-building class have to go way up. It has to be experiential. It has to be a place where you feel like there was a reason to come there, especially since the pandemic, right? Like we weren't able to go anywhere for a really long time. And now if we go somewhere, we want it to be thrillingly great. And that is true as a deduction by all the American public now, and it has an impact on schools. So hopefully you like what Bari has to say. Go ahead, Bari.
We still, even almost 2 years into this, we still sometimes forget to unmute. All right, share my screen real quick here. Thank you so much for attending. My name is Bari Gersten, and this is Back to School Easier with ViewSonic. So here at ViewSonic, I am the Education Marketing Manager. Prior to taking this position, actually during the pandemic, I got a promotion. And before that, I was doing professional development for ViewSonic. And before working for ViewSonic, I've worked for companies like Smart Technologies and various other ed tech solution providers doing professional development. So I am always a huge advocate of the need for professional development. And prior to that, I was a middle school science teacher. So just to get us started and thinking about what it's like to be back in the classroom, I always think back to my very beginning as a teacher. I was very nervous and I didn't always feel comfortable standing in front of the classroom all day presenting on every single topic. And so I remember in my education classes that peer teaching was so important. And now I think even post-pandemic, I think how important peer teaching is. So this idea of standing up, whether we're in person or over Zoom, and communicating your ideas and your knowledge on a topic to the audience. So here in this picture, we see students up at they're obviously in class, they're up at the panel. That is our view board and it's on the mobile cart. So yes, they're in the front of the class. It seems to me that that's the front of the classroom, but putting it on a mobile cart is going to make it more flexible. So I'll talk a little bit about the flexible classroom and the importance of that. So just to get started, we're thinking about how to improve, enhance, and kind of change the model of the classroom of what we've had in the last two years and take all of that information and bring it into the future. So let's just get started here. So when we're looking at our classrooms, we know we're happy to be back in the classrooms, and there is a lot of funds, whether you're a public school or a private school, there is so much money out there right now to purchase technology. And I know a lot of ed tech solution providers are just like, hey, buy this, buy that. But before you actually make any purchases, it's so important to kind of reflect on what you already have. So the first thing we're going to do is conduct a digital DNA analysis. So this is not just hardware. This is really evaluating in your classroom what technology is there, what digital resources, what online resources you have, and seeing what works and what doesn't work. The next thing we need to look at is assess the needs of the classroom. Where do we want the classroom to go? What did we, when we were home, when we were teaching remotely or teaching in a hybrid environment, what did we feel was missing? And how can we integrate that back into our classroom now that most of us are in the classroom full time? So we have to find hardware that addresses those needs. And then we need to look for software that works with the hardware we already had, as well as the new hardware that we're implementing. And as I said before, what really ties everything together, what makes happy teachers, happy IT staff is providing that ongoing professional development. When we actually use the technology on a regular basis, that's really what that really is what makes it a successful implementation. And the only way to do that is ongoing professional development. So lots of people are offering like a free startup professional development, but really it's about having it ongoing. And so, I was just looking at we're working on this article, and we cited 2016 research, which actually sounds so long ago right now. And it said in 2016, only 63% of teachers said they use technology on a daily basis. And I think that if we ask that question, if we did that survey now in 2021, 2022, I feel like it would be 99, if not 100% of teachers using technology on a daily basis. So we really need to support those teachers in this process of becoming more confident using the technology. So when I start any presentation, I always like to go out and see what's going on in the classrooms. Now, since I haven't been traveling as much, I turn to Google to see what classrooms look like. What is the technology? All I did was a Google search for technology in classrooms. And the first thing I noticed was that no two classrooms look the same. But let's just start in the upper left-hand corner. In the upper left-hand corner, this isn't a classroom that has one-to-one device. It looks like it's 2-to-1. So in this classroom, maybe moving forward with ESSER funds, we would make sure that every student has a device. We also see an old projector and some bright windows over there. So maybe having a device that can be seen, that is much more vivid. So having that interactive front panel or some sort of commercial display, your students aren't going to have to turn the blinds every time the teacher wants to present something. And let's just look, but we still have the ability to use anything that's currently in the classroom. So just because we have an old projector doesn't mean we need to throw it out. We can then take that projector and move it into another space to use that maybe as more smaller group instruction or in a room that's darker. So we don't want to be throwing technology out. We want to integrate it throughout the entire building. All right, in the next picture on the lower left-hand side, you'll see that every student has a device in front of them that is a one-to-one environment. You'll also see that there is that projector. This room isn't as bright, so maybe the teacher wants to keep using it. You can see in the teacher's hand that she is holding some sort of interactive small tablet, so that allows her to annotate her notes. So we want to make sure that teachers have the ability to annotate while they're teaching, so students see in real time what the teacher is doing instead of just having a PowerPoint. We also see throughout the room that there are televisions there. Televisions are a great way, if you add an additional feature, an additional piece of hardware like our My View Board box, you can turn any TV into a device that students and teachers can share their screens wirelessly to them. So think about in a STEM lab where students can just share what they're working on throughout the lesson. That's a really great way to take technology you already have and just add something on top of it and make it and bring it into 2022. In the last picture, we don't really see a lot of technology there. We do see an old interactive whiteboard. So in that situation there, maybe we would get rid of the old interactive whiteboard. It is very small. It's not very bright. But this is kind of more of a blank screen to start with for that classroom. So when we're looking and we're assessing what each classroom needs, and we have to figure out what do they already have. So you'll see on this list what we already have and what some classrooms don't have. It's the same list. You can have one classroom and across the hall have a totally different setup. So we want to always be assessing and giving each classroom the resources they need. So when we talk about moving into the classroom of the future or the scaled up classroom, what are the zones or the stations that are needed? So you'll see here that there always is going to be that presentation zone. So teachers are always going to do large group instruction. Even if it's only 10, 15 minutes long, we still need a hub of the classroom where students can gather and learn either from the teacher or from their peers. You'll also see here that there's an area for the teacher that has their own device. So if they're using any dashboard software, they can monitor what's going on in their classroom. You'll also see throughout this room that there are other areas called huddle stations. So we want to provide these areas where students can work in small groups. All right, so let's see. So what does the classroom of the future actually need to be more engaging? So as I said before, they need that large format display where teachers can facilitate direct instruction. We also need an area for students to share and communicate their work and ideas in real time. So if you think back to the image where we had all those TVs around the room, that's one solution, but also students might want to share up to the big screen. So we need to make sure that our hardware and our software allow for that as well. We also want to make teachers' lives easier. So we want to ensure that all of the hardware and all of the software that we're purchasing in the future integrates with resources they're already using. So teachers are already comfortable using Seesaw, Canvas, Kahoot, all of these things online. And we want to make sure that they can continue to use all of their resources in Google Drive and Classroom or Microsoft, whatever platform they use at the school. And then we also have those huddle spaces for small group collaboration. So in those huddle groups, we also want to have devices that allow for students and teachers to be able to annotate. So making sure that the devices also are touch or pen enabled so that they can actually work in those smaller groups. And those smaller groups can be led by teachers or by the students themselves. And then we need a simple platform where everyone in the school can collaborate and communicate on one simple platform. So sometimes when we have this at our company where we use Teams and Zoom, and I'm constantly missing messages because I'm always in Teams, but I don't always have Zoom open. And so we want to make that one platform so everyone knows where to go. If you want a whiteboard, you know what software. If everyone's using a different platform for whiteboarding, it gets a little confusing. It's also very confusing for the students. They don't know where to go all the time. All right, so at ViewSonic, we are manufacturers of hardware. So I'm just going to give you an overview of the hardware. I know that there are plenty of companies that create hardware, but as I said before, what we really want to focus on is having hardware and software that all works together, whether they're new products or old products. So not saying throw out your old products because that would create a ton of e-waste. I'm saying let's build what you already have and add in more hardware, but make sure that software works with it. And when you choose ViewSonic, you know that everything that in your classroom will integrate with any future products that you purchase. So I'm just going to show you the center or the hub of the classroom. It doesn't necessarily have to be the front of the classroom, but it's that view board. So it comes in sizes from 55 inches to 98 inches. And that is an interactive view board. You can connect a MacBook, a Chromebox, a Chromebook, or you can use a slot-in PC or a connected PC, or it actually runs simply off an Android device. So that's really the hub of the learning. And you can, as you saw in that first picture I showed, you can have it on a mobile cart. I like to have it on the mobile cart because it's flexible technology. And I see so many schools purchase, especially in the elementary level. When I go into an elementary school, I get so excited. All of the flexible furniture that they're implementing now, just allowing students to be able to pick up whatever they're sitting on and move it and form their own groups and huddles. I love that. So making sure that technology is also flexible and mobile throughout the classroom. We also have our commercial displays in a wide array of sizes. And once again, these commercial displays will be able to connect wirelessly. Students will be able to share their screens up to those displays wirelessly. And obviously the teacher has controls over that. But that's also a great feature to have in the classroom. having more ways to see student work is always important. And then I mentioned over here in the upper right-hand corner, I mentioned in these small huddle areas that we want to have a place where students can annotate and manipulate content on the screen. So we do have our touch displays that range in size, that go all the way up to 24. We actually have a 40, I think it's a 43 inch that's coming out soon, that also works great in these smaller huddle spaces. And then obviously we have our accessories. We have the webcam and the document cam. And these are great. Obviously the webcam, in case we have students learning remotely or hybridly, that's always a great option. And the document camera, I always like to add in that the document camera doesn't necessarily, everyone thinks document camera, it has to be used for documents. But as a former science teacher, I always think if I had a document camera I didn't have hardly any technology in my classroom. If we had a document camera, it would have been a great way to broadcast throughout the whole class a small experiment that I was doing as for part of direct instruction. So then I could use the document camera as a way to show, okay, here I am showing how liquids diffuse in a solution. So I love the document camera and the fact that it integrates seamlessly into our software. Our software actually allows any document camera to integrate seamlessly. Then we have our Chromebox. The Chromebox has our software on it and obviously keeps you in that Google for Education environment if that is your choice at your school. And then we have the My Viewboard box, and that is the device that allows any TV or commercial display in the building to allow for that wireless capability. So students can easily share their screen, and it can also be managed by our software as well when you install the box and have our software. All right, so as I said before, it's really the software that ties everything together. And so the My Viewboard ecosystem is that software. So the My Viewboard ecosystem is for students, it's for teachers, it's for admins. So I'm just going to do a brief overview of all that. Now, when teachers are making a lesson, they're adding in videos from YouTube, links to websites, PDFs that they receive from their textbook. They're also going out to old Google Slides that they've used for years. So whiteboard, the My Viewboard whiteboard is the glue that ties all of that together. I don't have time to open up all of those things in one lesson, but if all of those things, the PDF, the YouTube, the links, the Google Slides, if they're all in one place, it makes it a lot easier. So whiteboard is that solution. And just remember, I talked about making sure that we can integrate all of the things we've always used. So in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see that whiteboard also integrates with Smart Notebook files, Promethean, Active Inspire, flip charts, Google, YouTube, Microsoft, anything you'd expect, it integrates in with whiteboard. And then I'm just going to go clockwise from the bottom center here, and we'll talk about originals. So originals, we have a team of content developers that are making backgrounds, interactive games, lessons, and those are all free to use when you have the My Viewboard software. The My Viewboard software is a complimentary product that we develop in-house. Next, we have the Companion. The Companion is an app I can install on my phone or my tablet, and it allows for QR single sign-on to the software. So when I sign into the software using my Companion app, I'm also signed into my Google Drive, so I have access to all of my resources. I can also use my Companion app on my phone as a slide advancer, a laser pointer, and a mobile document camera. Next, we have Display. Display is that software that allows for wireless screen sharing. Then we have Clips, which is our video assisted learning library. So these are educationally curated videos that are ad-free and also have lessons associated with the videos. Manager is more for our IT staff. This allows them to push out apps, manage tasks, and even send alerts and multimedia broadcasts. Classroom is really the solution that we came up with for hybrid learning. So it's collaborative software that works whether students are in the class or at home. I also think of, now that most of us are back in the classroom, it's also a great software to have collaboration in your classroom when students are in one-to-one environments. Over the last 2 years, we got used to just staring at our computers all day. So students, when they head back to class, can continue to use their one-to-one device and collaborate using the computer. So that's the software. I know it's a lot to cover in a short session, but I do like to give an overview so you understand that we really, at ViewSonic, we really are working hard to develop all of the software components that you need to run a class and a school. And last but not least, we have a ton of free resources. So teachers can go through the certification program. That's a self-paced online certification program where they get badges for completing each level. We also have the wiki. The wiki is everything in PDF form that you could read about our software. If you want to understand what all the toolbar icons are, that's your place to go. If you're more like me and you like those 2-minute tutorials, then you can head over to our YouTube channel and see step-by-step how to use our software. So those are all the online free resources, but obviously we have a team of, I was one of them, a team of former educators that travel around the country delivering PD in person that's ongoing. Obviously, that also can be done virtually for schools that don't want to have visitors. So the professional development is really what ties it all together. Whatever product you choose, I highly, highly recommend professional development. So let's see. I think that is all I have for today. I know I spoke fast. I did drink a lot of coffee today, but I am here if you have any questions. So I will stop sharing and see if we have any questions.
Okay. Well, that was fast. And yeah, you're like me when I have too much coffee. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, but you know,
and I've actually done the presentation more than once. So now it's like when you've done something more than once, you go even faster. So
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. So let me share screen back again. Screen 2. Well, we're going to be heading into another discussion, but I just wanted to ask you, Bari, like, is there also a repository of lessons people can look at publicly? Or do they have to already be a member?
No, ViewSonic really is the manufacturer of the hardware, and then our software is at myviewboard.com. That's myviewboard.com, and I'll just type that in here. And from there, you can find the originals. We call originals, and we have our own content developers making all those great lesson plans and backgrounds and interactive games.
Okay. Yeah, people want to see samples. And I think one of the reasons that it's imperative that more districts have teachers look at that experiential learning side is it's, like I said before, it's in demand now. This is what parents want for their students. They don't really want to be on campus for the student to sit in class and read. They want a reason to be there. And so sort of the high-tech environment now for students is a competitive differentiator for people that might otherwise want to homeschool. So for public education, I think it's really an imperative. Also, I wanted to ask you, do you have a partnership with a company like Yamaha or anybody like that with audio enhancement?
That's a great question. So our latest version of the panel does have an enhanced, so the 52 series does have enhanced audio built in. However, I know that there are so many audio companies out there. We actually don't partner with any at this time.
Okay. Yeah, that's a thing now with those teachers roving and having to also be on screen. If they walk away from their machine, the students can't hear them. So there's these new, put it around your neck, voice enhancement, projects to the room, projects to the machine.
Yeah, exactly. Because voice strain is a real thing. If you're talking 6, 8 hours a day, that's a lot on your vocal cords. And
Yeah.
for the teacher, it also, I know that some students also struggle with auditory processing, and it kind of cancels out all the background noise. So I feel like schools, or a lot of schools, are implementing that or already have it. So we don't actually create that, but I know there's a ton of companies out there that do that.
Yeah.
Do you have one that you like or that you've heard good things about? Is Yamaha?
Well, we worked a lot with Yamaha and Lightspeed.
Yes, I've seen Lightspeed often.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, thank you for your presentation, and do want to stress that, you know, it's focus on the experience. It's a competitive play. It's definitely important, given that, you know, the presentation we did yesterday shows that over 33% of students now have opted out of traditional public, and it keeps accelerating. So it's definitely something for school districts to be thinking about. But thank you very, very much.